Hi guys, so I'm here social distancing with Mr. Lamb. I'll just introduce you real fast if you don't mind, and then you can say whatever you want. He just put his shirt back on. First of all, he is ripped up. It's like when he was running towards me, it was pretty much like a Baywatch movie, just a little bit, instead of slow motion, super, like truly physically.
Pamela Anderson.
Well, I wish she was here, of course, without a doubt. But anyway, so Mr. Lamb is a beast physically, professional, married, has 2 sons. They're 17, but started when you were 39. And I think being a parent at any age is tough, but I think, I think there's good and bad, and we can discuss that, like of starting later. But the bonus for him is not just 1 child, but 2 at the same time. And I got to see a lot of the interaction when they would take karate class, and I get to make dumb jokes about them and stuff. But anyway, so why'd you wait till 39? Was it like purposeful or situational, or?
No, it was purposeful that we just decided to wait. I met my wife a little later in life. We were both professionals at that point. It took us a while to sort of decide that we wanted to have kids, get our act together, I guess, financially in terms of getting established with a house and so forth.
Did you not want kids to begin with, and then you changed your mind, or was it never discussed? Or?
No, we did want to have kids all along. We just didn't feel that it was really the right time for us to have kids early on. It was just better for us to wait. And we decided to just wait a few years. I mean, we had been married, I guess, about 4 years when we started looking to having kids, which is not too long. But again, we met later in life, and I think that was really the key, is just getting started later at that point.
So, what do you think the benefits were of starting later in life?
Well, so I think about this a lot. I will honestly say I'm about 10 years beyond the average of my cohorts given my kids' ages. If you go to softball games, if you go to school functions, I am probably 10 years older than equivalent parents with their kids. I would say the benefit is that you have a lot more financial stability. You have a chance to do a lot more traveling and stuff and get things out of the way that you may want to do personally or professionally earlier on in life. For us, what's been helpful is the financial stability. It's not, and it's not right or wrong, it's just different. I love having kids. I would never not want to have the kids that we have. They're beautiful and all, and I love the experience.
But one of them you might
when
trade.
You have,
if you trade one?
There's certain days when you're searching on Craigslist to see how much a kid costs. You can get for, no, I'm only kidding. They're wonderful kids. But
they are wonderful, they're great.
You look at, if you start when you're in your 20s, or maybe early 30s, that has a big impact on the rest of your life, and it really, really and truly does. Again, not right or wrong, but for us, it just has worked out very well. We both got started late. We both were professional. We're happy with where we are, but I have to be mindful. I've got grayer hair, forgetting about the beard, which is a new thing, but I've got less hair, grayer hair than most people that have equivalent kids, and it's just you have to deal with that.
What would you have done differently to prepare if you could start over?
I don't know that I would have done anything differently. I'm happy with the sequencing that we had. I will say that I wasn't a particularly physical person when we had the kids, and it wasn't until they got to be a couple years old that I really started getting into physical shape. I was never in bad shape, but I just was one of those people who never exercised, just never did anything. And when I had the kids, I realized that I really wanted to be able to keep up with them, and I think that's probably another topic of this monologue here is what to do with the kids, keeping in shape, etc. I wouldn't say that I would start getting in shape earlier, but understand that having kids is going to be a life changer in many ways. But one of them is just physically staying in shape if you want to be able to keep up with your kids and participate with your kids. And to me, that was important. I don't know that I'd do it earlier, but I'm glad I did it as early as I did.
Is there anything as a dad, you feel like I rock at blank being a dad? I'm so good at communicating with the boys, or keeping them close, or not yelling at them, or teaching them about money, or I think I'm really good at this part.
See, you never know, and having twins and the only kids, you don't learn from your experiences. I do appreciate people who have had multiple generations of kids or multiple kids. Over time, you learn from your mistakes. I think the latter kids turn out better. You're not as protective. You're not as controlling, perhaps. And for us, there's no doubt we're more controlling with our kids because they're the only ones we have and we don't know better. What I do think I'm well at is learning from other people and sort of learning lessons from other people. We have neighbors, we have friends that have kids that are maybe a little bit older than us, and I'm constantly going to them saying, what can I expect, or what's next, or what are your kids going through now? And I keep that in the back of my mind. People tell me little tidbits here and there. When I was very young, one of my coworkers had kids that were about my age and one a little bit older. She said, you know what, it's going to work itself out by the time the kid goes to high school. And I kept that in my mind. And things, you know, the kid may wear the same pair of underwear for 5 days in a row. I'm like, you know what, that's going to work itself out when he goes to high school or when he gets a girlfriend or whatever. I don't worry about as much stuff by talking to people that have been there already. Because of my job and my wife's job, we do work with finances and retirement, so I think we're drilling into our kids the value of money, which I think is an important skill. Everyone thinks that the current generation is just spending too much money and it's too easy to spend money with technology and Venmo and apps and so forth. I think we try to teach our kids the value of money and the value of saving and appreciating what you're getting and how much things cost. I like to think I'm imparting that into kids. You know, time will tell, of course.
All right, let's talk about that for a second. So you're sitting down right now with the two boys, they're 10 or 12 or something, and you want to give them 2 or 3 money tips that are going to take them the rest of their life. What are the 2 or 3, you know, so like a parent that's watching right now, like, oh, I'm going to go do that right now. Like, what are the 2 or 3 money tips?
Everything has a cost. Everything. Time, everything has a cost. You have to decide what is that cost and is it worth what I'm getting for it. I would say time is the biggest factor. Most people don't appreciate the value of their time. They don't appreciate that is something else you can be doing with your time, or you're taking away from something else, and you have to recognize that. I think is a huge value. So it's not just monetary. Obviously money is a cost too. My kids will go buy something. Dad, I bought a pair of pants online for $10. I'm like, okay, how much is shipping and handling? Oh, that was only $6. I'm like, okay, then you bought a pair of pants for $16. You have to understand that. You also understand that if you earn $7 an hour, that's 2.5 hours of your labor. Is that worth it? Maybe yes, maybe no, but you have to think in those terms. Not that you're not allowed to spend money, but you have to understand that everything has some trade-off, and that's what I'm trying to instill in them. Either time, look at the whole cost of things, I think are important.
What is it is probably tougher, but also I think what you learn most from, like your biggest, like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. You know, like looking back, like if I had to do it over again, I wouldn't have either a specific instance, like, you know, like whatever, or like even the way you acted over time, that like if I had to do it over again, like I wouldn't have done that.
I would say the one regret is let the kids be the kids. Don't be too controlling. Don't be too hovering. Don't be too, you should buy this, not this, or you should do this, not this. Within guidelines and reason, you know, let them have fun. Let them get souvenirs on trips that maybe are a little bit crazier, that maybe not make sense. One of my, and this is just one example, one of my sons will get fixated on things when we're on a trip and buy the most crazy souvenirs that
Give me
we
an
think
example.
are absolutely silly. A good example, and then in hindsight, we think they're the coolest thing. So we were in, I think it was Niagara Falls, and there was this place where you could go where they'd put your hand in wax, like up to here.
I've seen it.
And I don't know how they do it. We watched them do it. It takes like an hour to do it. They put layers on, and they put your hand in wax like this, or maybe holding a ball or doing like a golf club. It's the coolest technique, and then they pull the wax off and they give it to you. And we thought, oh geez, this is crazy. And it took like an hour to do it because the wax has to set, and then you have to go away and come back. We still have that souvenir. It is the coolest thing, just sitting there seeing that souvenir like that. And we try to talk our kid out of doing it. The same kid gets fixated. He got a deer head. He was fixated on a buck head. We're like, we're not hunters. What do you need a buck head for? Well, he was fixated. We found a thrift store that had this beautiful buck head for like $40, and he bought it, and it's sitting in his room, and you walk in his room and there's this darn beautiful buck head sitting there, which again, you have to let them have a little bit of freedom, let them do their own thing. And those sometimes are the coolest experiences and the coolest memories that you'll come back with.
What's your favorite thing about being a father?
I think watching them grow, watching them change, watching them grow. Some things I have no say in, no input, and just watching them develop on their own. And that's really the key, is let them be their own people, because they are. and they have to be. And you don't want them in your house when they're 30 years old. You want them on their own, and you have to give them the freedom, the tools to do that. And I think seeing my kids get those tools, use them, and grow in different ways is important.
How do you balance, you were saying, like, let them be their own selves. Like, how do you balance, like, they need to do what they need to do. Like, you know, like, you're obviously not going to say, oh, you don't want to go to school anymore? Oh, that's fine. You're your own person. Like, how do you balance, like, you know, even when, like, for instance, when they want to, you know, quit something or whatever, like, forcing them to do it versus, like, okay, this is not for you, I guess.
That's probably the toughest thing, and you don't know until after the fact if it was right or wrong. I think our kids went through Action Karate is a good example. They got their junior black belts. I'd have to think about how old they were. I'm going to guess 10 or so. And I think collectively we were struggling over the last year to get them to go to class. Every parent can probably relate to this. We all collectively sat down, you know, and that was Miss Jackie, it was us, it was them, and we kind of agreed that it was time to take a pause. They had gotten their goal. I had a rack made up at home with their belts on it, and they still have it in their bedroom, and every few months, every year, they'll look at it and say, Dad, I'm really, really glad I got to karate, and I'm
That's
really
awesome.
glad I got my junior black belt. And of course I asked, do you want to go back? And they're like, no, I'm good, but I'm really glad, I'm really proud. And I always offer, but it's an accomplishment. No one can ever take it away from them, and they've moved on. So you just have to sort of balance where they are, what they've accomplished, and if it's time to maybe move on. They can always go back. You can always pick
What
up
made you
softball
force
later.
them to go for the last year? You could have just let them give up at, like, brown belt or something.
It was a goal. It was something that we had set, and I knew that they would look at that rack that had maybe 7 of the 9 belts or whatever, and always in the back of their mind they would regret it. And I think I've gotten a lot more competitive as I've gotten older. I do a lot of runs. I would never do a half marathon and stop 10 miles early. I would never do that ever, because in the back of my mind for the rest of my life, I would always remember those last, you know, couple steps I didn't take. And I didn't want them to have that hanging over them. So we'd get through it, you know, and then go from there.
So nothing to do with fatherhood, but you obviously still train with us. You teach, you mentor, you help other people. Why do you still do that? Like, you might just move on and go do other things. You obviously do other things anyway.
I need to push myself. I need to challenge myself, I think, in a couple of different ways. Physically, it's key. I always thought of Action Karate as the linchpin for keeping my physical activity going. I have to be able to do the push-ups. I have to be able to do the kicks. I have to be able to do whatever it is in class to be an effective teacher and instructor in my classes. But that also, I do other things outside, but I know that if I didn't do the karate, the rest of the stuff would fade away over time. So I like to keep that holds it together for me. I think from a leadership and an instructor perspective, I don't have a role where I can lead people and help people grow and interact with people at that level in that way, and I like it. It's something that I don't need to do. It could go away, but I think it's something that I like to set myself up for later in life as well. Much of what I do is setting myself up for later in life as I get closer to retirement, because I want to have goals. I want to constantly push myself, and I think the karate is helping me push myself personally, developmentally, and physically, of course.
I know that from the bottom of my heart, like, I appreciate everything you do with us first, with our school.
Thank you.
And I hear all the time about, like, oh, I like Mr. Lamb's class. It's awesome. You know, I know you put a lot of effort in, like, thinking about what's going to go on and making sure that you know the material, that you're a good, you know, not only do you teach, you know how to teach. And I think that what makes a teacher really good is knowing how to teach and being a good role model. And, you know, we always see, you know, we talk to other people that take karate in other places, and, you know, they'll say, like, oh, that instructor doesn't look like he can do any push-ups. You know, where you are, like, living the, you know, the black belt or martial arts lifestyle. Any other parting wisdom you would like to share with our viewers?
I think keeping up with your kids is the key thing for any parent. That's what got me into the martial arts. It got me into the running. It's fun. It's the most rewarding part of it. So don't let that go. Make sure you can keep up with your kids. Plan, enjoy, embrace it. You can always change your mind and not do something later. But
I think change your mind, not have kids.
Not about not to have, no, that I wouldn't do. I wouldn't do that, first of all. But in terms of embarking on an activity or you know, you'll never regret getting in shape physically. You'll never regret planning for the future. You'll never regret making yourself a better person.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Have a great day, guys. You'll be oh, by the way, we ran like 6.5 miles. So yeah, for me it's outrageous. For him, it's nothing. For him, it's,
I feel it.
I'm sure later on he'll do another 10. All right, bye, guys.